My name's Kaya.
My name is Alec, and this is my persuasive speech on water privatization. Did you know that almost 1 billion people worldwide lack access to sufficient clean and affordable water? Private companies often promise to increase access to water and improve service, but the reality is that turning to privatization as the solution is often much more costly and corrupt than it seems. I've done my research on the subject of water privatization not only for the purpose of this speech, but also because it's a passion of mine. So, whether you agree with me or not, my overall goal is to increase awareness of the detrimental effects that privatizing water can have in developing countries all around the globe. First, the problem. Most people can agree that water should be a public commodity, but for those who think otherwise, I hope we can at least agree that water is fundamental to human life and health. When water becomes privatized, however, the charge rate increases, the corruption increases, and this results in a loss of control for the people who suffer most from it. The first threat of privatization I want to discuss is the monetary cost. According to a Food and Water Watch article from 2015, investor-owned utilities typically charge 59% more for water services than local government utilities. Studies show that after privatization, water rates increase at around 3 times the rate of inflation. Next, it is also crucial to pay attention to the operational costs regarding the private sector. Privatization is not significantly more efficient, and in most cases, actually worsens service quality and is impractical as a lasting alternative. One reason for the emergence of this problem is that climate change has worsened over the past few decades. And as a consequence, according to a 2017 article by AlterNet author Adam Hudson, is more than 80% of water available to agricultural, domestic, and industrial users is being withdrawn annually, leaving businesses, farms, and communities vulnerable to scarcity. Historically, cities created municipal water and sewage utilities to prevent the spread of communicable diseases. But as old water infrastructure crumbles and federal funding shrinks, local governments have been turning to private companies for help. Such companies present themselves as the hero to this rising problem, claiming that they will increase access and service to impoverished communities. But just like any monopoly, corporations are only accountable to their stockholders, not morals or the people they serve. An article from the Journal of Studies and Research in Human Geography in 2014 summarizes that the problem is both an issue of scarcity and allocation, and undoubtedly embedded in governance, institutions, and politics. I believe that this quote helps us to understand that the problems associated with privatization are multidimensional. Not only is there an increase in cost and a decrease in service, as previously mentioned, but there is also a loss of public input and transparency when it comes to making decisions in the company. As stated by the Journal of World System Research, privatization is a threat to human rights everywhere, and as climate change progresses, resources will become even scarcer, intensifying the push from corporations to control and commodify water. Another dimension of the problem, and perhaps the most important factor, has to do with people who are affected most by it. Even though private companies promise that they will increase access and improve service for low-income or impoverished communities, who ensures that the citizens are not object of profit? Even if their intentions are earnest, in the end, they are businesses operating on the basis of allocating profit, and without proper oversight and regulation from the government, corruption is inevitable. Real-life experience of privatization is often disastrous for consumers and adds new hurdles for low-income families, as said in a 2004 article for Race, Poverty, and the Environment Journal. Now that we have addressed the problem, let's examine the solution. Thankfully, there are several solutions that may be able to address these problems. Instead of privatization, municipalities can partner with public partners that are more cost-efficient, reliable, and responsive to the needs of the people. There are also several ways to address the problem of the water scarcity in general. These include, but are not limited to, expanding public and community-controlled water utilities, repairing broken water systems throughout public funding, saving water by installing drip irrigation systems, enhancing water reclamation and conservation programs by installing low-flow toilets and showers, and improving watershed management, in the words of Jay Beck. By going to the following link, you can further educate yourselves on the problem I've discussed today, and even research the local efforts happening in your state. The same website provides information on the Water Act petition and acknowledges that we need to plan ahead and create a dedicated source of public funding that will help create public utilities to protect our country's valuable water resources. No matter where you live, there is something that you can do to help these efforts. One of the biggest reasons problems like these grow so immense is that people just aren't aware of them. So take the responsibility to learn more and tell your friends and family about what they can do to help. An obstacle is not easily fixed if the threat of privatization to low-income communities of color is to be stopped. The people of color in particular need to be included in the water governance decisions, according to Beck. But that's not enough. By just becoming more involved in the matter and creating awareness for those who are suffering most from privatization, eventually their voices will be heard. You can also visit www.waterallies.org to learn more about the Water Allies Network and their efforts to safeguard and sustain our water systems for all, particularly our most vulnerable. In conclusion, water privatization is an issue because it increases rates while decreasing quality of service and eliminating jobs. Privatization lacks accountability and transparency with the people it serves and leaves the low-income populations it claims to provide for far off worse than they were before. I urge you all to educate yourself, advocate for others, and spread awareness on these issues by utilizing the websites I referenced and more. Let's work together and make sure that 1 billion people who lack access to clean and affordable water worldwide have their fundamental human rights met. Thank you.